In 2012, New York State had more than 2,000 confirmed cases of Lyme disease, with Pennsylvania having more than double that amount.
Lyme disease is caused by a bacteria that is spread by the bite of an infected tick. WENY TV's Nick Watch Me spoke to a family in the area who was impacted by Lyme disease, and he joins us live in the studio with the story. Nick.
Jen and Ben, I spoke to Elizabeth Bostwick and her son Julian. Julian has been living with Lyme disease for over a year. They shared with me their journey of getting Julian diagnosed and treated.
Julian began demonstrating symptoms over a year ago. At first we didn't know what it was because he started having behavioral changes and cognitive changes.
Over a year ago, Elizabeth Bostwick started noticing that her son Julian was acting differently. Julian was having problems concentrating and remembering things. So Elizabeth took Julian to the doctor to find out what was going on.
He was seeing if he had meningitis, and he didn't have meningitis. So it was kind of a long time of looking at a variety of symptoms.
And at one point, doctors thought that Julian might have ADHD. A couple of months later, Julian started suffering from stiff joints, and it was affecting him playing baseball.
My coach was trying to tell me to extend my arm to throw, but I really couldn't because it was like kind of stiff.
Shortly after, the Bostwicks found a new doctor that was willing to have Julian tested for Lyme disease, and after blood work, it was confirmed. Julian is now being treated at a Lyme disease specialist in Albany. Lyme disease is known as the great imitator because the symptoms mimic a number of different disorders, which can sometimes make it hard to diagnose. In 2012, the New York State Department of Health caught 50 ticks at the Newtown battlefield in Chemung County. And out of the ticks that were caught, more than half of them tested positive for bacteria that can cause Lyme disease. And here are some tips that the State Health Department recommends to help keep you or your children protected. When you're outside, always try and wear light-colored clothing so you can spot ticks easier. Use insect repellent. And lastly, always check for ticks after you or a loved one was outside. And now that Julian is on the path to recovery, Elizabeth wants to send a clear message that ticks are not just limited to wooded areas, and Lyme disease may or may not have the typical indicators.
Ticks can be so minuscule, and they can attach on and you don't even know that they're there. And they can release and you still never knew they were there. They don't always leave a bullseye rash, and the symptoms aren't always the classic symptoms.
Now, for more information on Lyme disease or the symptoms, go to WENY.com and click on this story. Reporting in the studio, Nick Watch Me, WENY News.